Hey everyone, welcome to Piano Lessons with Elvin, episode 15. Today we'll be doing minor intervals and augmented and diminished intervals. I'll just go through a brief overview of them. The prior episode, I did major and perfect intervals, so be sure to watch that first before diving into here. A few things to state at the outset. An important concept here will be the concept enharmonic. En harmonic, which is when a note is the same like auditorily but has a different name. So we could say like D sharp is the same as E flat. Same pitch, it's just the way it's written or perceived is different. F flat is the same as the E, that kind of stuff. So keep that in mind. Enharmonic, that's important. And then I want you to consider minor in regards to one of the intervals. A minor second just means a half step. Different way to say half step. There's two of those. I brought it up in the last video. A major second is a whole step. A minor second is a half step. Besides for that designation, we could view all minor intervals like we could with major. And we can view minor intervals as what is common when you see a natural minor scale. If you're playing a natural minor scale, all the intervals in there will be minor, sans the second. And then, of course, the perfect intervals. But stuff like the third, the sixth, and the seventh will be minor by default if playing the natural minor scale. So I just wanted to toss that out there because minor, the definition's a bit different in that case. It's like usually we view minor as in, maybe it's sad or angry or a certain kind of mood, but in this context with a minor second, it just is another way to say half step. So I think those are the two main points to go over. But yeah, I'll just show you some examples of these and kind of talk it out as I go through it. So hope you enjoy. I'll just grab the phone. Okay, so if we start with minor intervals, I always like to just refer to as many as I can on white keys. Let's do A minor, which will do A natural minor. And I do have a video on all the minor scale stuff, so feel free to look at that. So, like I said, first let's go over minor second intervals. These will always be half steps. So all of these minor seconds, I'd say, just say half steps for the most part until you get into more deep theory stuff. Mostly you'll just hear people talk about half steps. And like I said, here's a whole step. This would be a major second, aka, but sorry about that, just ate. So we have a natural minor scale. Besides the perfect intervals, which are perfect in major and minor scales, hence the word, which are unison notes, the first, fourth, fifth, and the octave. And then besides the second, which in this case will be a whole step, aka a major second, minor second, aka half step, the other intervals will be minor ones. So here's A to C, minor third, minor six, minor seven, and then there's the octave again, the perfect octave. Now let's go through diminished ones. Diminished is to shrink, as the word implies. So if we think about shrinking even lower, I like to think about the hierarchy here as augmented. We have major, then we increase more to get to augmented. Augmented, we go down to major. Major lowers to minor, and then finally we get minor going even lower and diminishing to a diminished chord. So if I take an interval, let's say, and this is where that term enharmonic will come into play. Let's say I do this, a minor third, A to C. To make this a diminished third, I would shrink the C to a C flat. So technically this is a and C flat, even though the way you perceive this looking at it would probably be A, B. And this is where it's enharmonically the same. A, B, a major second, or a whole step is enharmonically the same as a diminished third, A to C flat. Now, why would anyone want to write it that way? This is very context-based. In this context, where there's no sheet music or anything, pretty stupid to do A to C flat. It's really, just complicates it, but there's, I don't want to get too in the weeds with it, but there'll be cases in music where it makes more sense to write a C flat instead of a B. But yeah, so here would be a diminished third. And we can take these with every interval in this case. I'll even do it with unison, which, with a second. You can't diminish one note. So here's a major second. We can shrink it to a minor second. Now, funny enough, we can shrink the minor second to a diminished second, which will just be this note. But in theory, it's A and a B double flat, which double flats do exist, double sharps do exist. So even though you're playing this, the actual theory of it, if you saw sheet music, would be A and a B double flat. And because you can only hit one note at one time, you get one pitch. But if there was me and a friend singing it, there'd be two of us singing the same note. I would be singing an A, and my friend would be singing a B double flat, which would be an A in quotes, and that's that N harmonic concept. So I'll go through it. Here's a perfect fourth. To shrink it, you go down. There's a diminished fourth. Here's a perfect fifth. Shrink it down. Diminished fifth. Here's a sixth. Shrink it down. F goes to F flat. And I know you might start to have some questions cropping up. A, G, shrink it, G flat. There's a diminished 7, A to G flat. And then we get the octave. And then we can, shrink that A to A flat. Now, some of these that I'm saying, as I'm saying it, my brain is starting to glitch out because it's really like A to A flat, super weird. I mean, it's like you'll see them, but it's so much in my mind, I want to think A to G sharp. And this is where that N harmonic concept comes in real quick. And some of the best ways to explain why they're in this way would be actually in the context of sheet music, which I will do some videos soon on how to read sheet music, because that's going to be paramount to true comprehension of music. So, like you might have noticed, I'll go to this perfect fourth. If I do a diminished fourth, I shrink this, A to D flat, this is N harmonically the same as a major third, A to C sharp. To reiterate real quick, how do I know this is a major third? If I'm on A and I think of a major scale, there we go, that's how I know it's a major third. Or I could just remember that major thirds always consist of 4 half steps. All roads lead to Rome. So, a diminished fourth is the same as a major third. In the major third, the perception of it will be A, C sharp. The perception in a diminished fourth is a D flat, even though it ends up being the same sound. And I'll do a few more examples of this. Let's do it with, here's a minor 6, F to F flat. Now this is N harmonically the same as A to E, a perfect fifth. Once again, it's a perception, largely more important in context of sheet music, and certain theory rules that'll be too complex to explain now. F flat, A, E, A, F flat. I'll do one more here. Let's do the, what would be nice? Yeah, I'll just do the 7th one. So, here's a minor 7. We can go one higher for a major 7. How do we know that's a major 7? If you remember from just a second ago, if I do a major scale on A, cool. And some people just like to know major 7s or a half step lower than an octave. That's how I like to think of it. So we got a minor 7, increasing to a major 7. Here's the octave, and now a diminished octave, A flat. So we get G sharp to make it a major 7, A flat to make it a diminished octave, even though it's, once again, N harmonically the same. And to do the last one here with augmented, same concept, we're just going up a half step. So with minors, like here is a minor third, and then to shrink it, diminish it, I took the top note, went down a half step, C to C flat. Now for augmented, we'll do the reverse here. And we're going to get lots of those same issues with and harmonic stuff. So let's say here's a major third, A to C sharp. If I increase it to augmented, we get C double sharp. So this is an augmented third, and I hate these because, most people hate these kind of things because your perception when you see it is, oh, this is a fourth. someone goes, actually, it's an augmented third, and you go, hey, you suck. Like this is very, very confusing to read this stuff in sheet music too. Even as I'm explaining it, like I said, my brain's hurting. So this could be viewed as C double sharp for a major third, or it could be viewed as a perfect fourth, A to D. And I'll just do this a few more with like one. Let's do another augment. So here's the minor 6. I increase it to go to a major 6. Increase it one more time to go to an augmented 6. And then here the augmented 6. Your perception, once again, I know you're thinking it's a G, but to keep it as a 6, and I'll explain this concept in a minute here, we do F double sharp. Cool. And it's harmonically the same as a minor 7, A to G, but this would be a augmented 6, A to F double sharp. Now, one of the concepts here is, like, why would someone do this? Like, why say A F double sharp instead of just saying A G? Like, why would I say A C double sharp instead of just A D? That question here. And one thing is, this very much to me is this is something that will matter a lot more when you're starting to analyze sheet music. But a big thing is how the composer wants you to perceive something, how to process it. If he wants you to view something as a third, the way it would appear in sheet music, I mean, this is completely random, but I'm just looking at this Debussy piece I'm on. So the way we look, you might not even know how to read this, but this is the third. So the way he wants me to conceive of this, my mind is a third, and because it's a third, the way I process all of this info, this to me when I see it will be an A flat add 2 chord. But the way I process this is very different because of how things are written. He could write this C, E flat. He could have written this as a C, D sharp, and a D sharp and E flat are the same note. D sharp, E flat. But the way I would think about this would be completely different. And now this would no longer be an A flat add 2 chord. This would be some kind of A flat thing with a sharp 4 in it. And it would, from a theory point of view, completely change the perception of it and kind of the rules of theory. But you probably can't, I don't even know if you can read it yet, so don't worry about it. But it's really, how do you want to perceive things? So if you want someone to view something as an augmented 6, you got to keep the F, because A to F is 6 notes apart. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So doing an F double sharp is if you want to maintain the purity of that 6 interval. If you don't care about it, feel free to write it A to G and make it a 7th. But we can't say, even though it's enharmonically the same to say A to G, if we want it to be a 6, we can't say A to G, because A to G is 7 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. A to G is 7 alphabet letters. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. A to F is 6. A, B, C, D, E, F. So if you want to maintain the purity of the interval of a 6, you have to find a way to keep the F involved somehow. If you change the letter name, it no longer will be a 6. Even if it ends up being the same note, which it will be. This is a 7th, because A to G is 7 notes apart. A to F double sharp is still 6 notes apart, because at least it's some kind of F. Think about it being like F with different clothes on. Like, here's A minor. You could think of this as, or A minor 7. This is maybe them with nude, and then you or let's say they just have clothes on, and then to diminish it, you get them nude. The F becomes flat, so now they're nude. And then let's say you have A minor 7, you put a jacket on, cool. Now it's the F sharp. Now it's a major 7. Now you throw on like a nice beanie and like even a second jacket, boom, and then you get them full of clothes, and it would be a augmented 6. But inherent is that it's still some kind of F. It could be a F flat, a F sharp, F double sharp. Could even be a F double flat, which F double flat, we could then say, oh, well, a F double flat is a lot like an augmented 4th. An augmented 4th is just like a diminished 5th. But what matters is that F is present, and that's huge for lots of these. And this is where it can hurt to read sheet music like this, because you'll play something like this. I could play this, and my perception is, oh, I'm playing a third, but what I'm reading could be a D double flat. So when I'm reading it in sheet music, my idea is, oh, this looks like a 4th, so I'm expecting something a 4th apart. But then in this particular song, the composer writes it as a D double flat. So then I'm playing this, and it's this little disconnect where the visual perception sees the interval of a fourth. This is just what a fourth looks like. I'll just, even though you might not be like, don't worry too much. And then here's what a third looks like. So let's say I see that. The distance of that is very embedded in my head. I know when I see that distance, I can assume a shape. But then if he does something a little different to where the physical nature on the keys makes a third, like here's A to D. Cool, that's nice. That's a nice fourth. Oh no, he wrote it as a D double flat. Now it feels to me like I'm playing a like a minor third, and that's enharmonically a minor third, A to C. But it's perceived as a this would be like a, this is funny, let's see, now I'm going, this would be a diminished, or how do you even do this, a double diminished fourth or something like that. But yeah, I think you get that point there where something that stays pure is we need to keep the DNA of stuff true. Like if you want a fifth from G to D, you got to make sure you say G to D. If I want a six from, yeah, let's say I just want or let's say I want to keep this six again. I'll just do the same interval here. So, but I want to make it a diminished six, which would be this. It's easier to say A to E, but now that's the fifth again, because A to E is 5 notes. We need to keep the DNA of a six. And a six will always be A to F, and we just have to put different clothes on the F. So F flatting it. And harmonically it's the fifth, and this will, like I said, hurt your head, but the way it's written, and then thus your perception of it, particularly in concepts of theory rules, will be different now since it's written as F flat. So I think that's enough with that. And then, feel free to do that in other scales, but all those concepts are still the same. So if I were to wrap it up, you can see how important this enharmonic concept is. So many, I'm going to put my phone back, actually. I realize sometimes when I do this wrap up portion, I'm like real close to my face. But, yeah, so, I probably look a little bit more handsome when there's some distance. Instead of look, hey guys, here's the wrap-up, look. So, enharmonic's a really important concept there. And the DNA strand, are you trying to make a six? Do you want the people to perceive it as a six? Even though it enharmonically might be the same as a different interval. Like I said, like a diminished six is the same as a perfect fifth. How do you want it perceived? You got to keep things the same, because that's the DNA of it. You can't call something a six if it's not 6 notes away. A, B, C, D, E, F. Even if it's the F flat, which is an E, it's still A, B, C, D, E, F. So that's still 6 notes apart. A, B, C, D, E is 5 no matter what you do. I could do an E sharp and make an augmented fifth. A to F, augmented fifth being the same as that A to F that I just did. A to F is a minor 6. A, E sharp is a augmented fifth, which is AF, but it's an augmented fifth because I decided to keep the E. So we got to keep that pure in those. And then just think about minor second means half step, major second means whole step. Besides that, use the context of scales. If you think of minor scales and natural minor scales, the remaining scales agrees. The third, sixth, and sevenths will always be minor by default if you're in the natural minor scale. And that covers everything, because then you get your perfect intervals, your 1, 4, 5s, and octaves. Then you get your seconds, which is going to be a major second, a whole step, minor second kind of thing. And then your third, sixth, and sevens will always be minor. And then from there, to augment, you go up from major, a half step, to diminish, you go down a half step from minor intervals. So that was kind of a lot to spit at you. We'll just see what you can grab. I'm going to be doing so many of these videos, so even if you just grab a bit of it, that's progress is progress, right? So appreciate you guys watching. Hope you have a great day when you're seeing this, and we'll see you next time. Okay, cheers.